Hello. Let me talk you through the steps of how to make a neat storytelling quilt. This has been a first grade tradition at Lonoke Elementary School for a very, very long time, so I'm going to pass it along to you today. Now, storytelling quilt is where the pilgrims, the people in the colonies, would be trying to tell a story. But you can't tell a story without a beginning, a middle, and an end. So stories have parts that you can break up a story into smaller parts. And so a quilt block, one square block, is actually telling one part of the story. And so if you design a part of the story, if you draw that as in the first block, and then if you draw a second one, and a third one and a fourth one, you might be able to tell your story. You might have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I probably would do 4 small drawings to piece them together to tell the whole story, just because 4 squares will make a larger square. And you see this is an example. I zoomed in, but it's based on a 9 square block. Here's one that's a little bit larger, and they use rectangles and squares to tell their story. When we're doing this in class in first grade, we actually have done this with older students as well. Doesn't matter what grade you're in. We always love to do these neat quilt blocks. But one year we actually stitched them using burlap and yarn. So we actually drew the pictures by stitching them in yarn. If you have those materials at home, feel free to do so. But I'm going to show you our traditional way of how first grade has made storytelling quilts in the past. Now, since we're not together as a class, it's going to be more challenging for me to piece them together. So my thought would be to help to remember the story. What part of the story, the early American cultural story about the pilgrims coming over, what part of the story did you like the best? And then why don't you illustrate it? So I have a special paper. I'm going to put it in the flash files. It'll be the filing cabinet on the far right, and the drawer is going to be the very bottom drawer. And it's going to be a small rectangular paper, and it'll be for first grade. But if you don't make it up to the flash files, you can do this on any size sheet of paper if you have at home. So first, let's get a pencil. I like to use a ruler as well, and I'll sketch out my designs with a pencil. So I am using a rectangle sheet of paper, and I use the ruler to make a frame or a border. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on in this video, but I'm just trying to show you the steps at the moment. You have to have a frame or a border, because if you're going to put all of these little quilt blocks together, the little frame and border helps to separate your picture from everybody else's picture, because you might have a picture above yours, below yours, left or right. So I always like for the students to use the ruler and make a frame and decorate that frame, because quilt blocks and patterns have lots and lots of decorations and patterns in them. Step 2, I always like to use a black crayon or a black marker, and I just redraw the picture, and it just helps for me to see those lines better. Step 3, I just used my crayons and I added color to my design. And I tried to even color the sky. Clouds are mostly white unless it's a thunderstorm, but the sky itself is usually sort of a light blue. It could be even purples and reds and oranges. And I've even seen after some storms it even have a green cast or glow to the sky. So skies can be different colors. Don't just leave it white. I'm a big fan of having full color, and it just makes your picture look more complete and finished. So what I'm trying to draw is how the pilgrims used the Mayflower, and they brought it over to America and started building their homes using logs and the resources they had in their area. And I decorated the border, and I tried to put these little quilt square in the corners. You do not have to turn this in. This is just a fun project. I would love to see them. If you do turn them in, I'm thinking if I get enough from all of first grade, I might have enough to piece them together and to create Storytelling Quilt for this year. So, what part of the story, the early American culture, did you like the best? And so illustrate it, and you can post this up at home. And so even though we may not make a really big one, at least you have done the project that commemorates the storytelling quilt and the history of the colonial days in our time. Now, like I said, I'm going to show you how to use the ruler to draw that. If you draw more than one, you can actually do this step 4, which would be to glue them on a larger sheet of paper and piece them together. Now, since I only have my drawing, I didn't have everybody else's drawing, I copied and pasted to make it look like I had multiple drawings. But it's a lot better when you have students' drawings, because they're all so different and unique, because everybody likes the different parts of that story. And so this is a first grade storytelling quilt from a few years ago in Miss Flood's class. We had Here Comes the Pilgrims building their homes. I love this one all in full color. This is a little abstract, but this is actually showing you the wool that they would use getting ready to make the thread and yarn. Here they are meeting the Native American Indians at the bottom. I love this image of the blacksmith working really hard in his shop. And so when you put them together, it tells a larger story. Hello, let's start a storytelling quilt. So I have the small rectangular sheet of paper. It is actually 6 inches by 9 inches wide. I have this in a folder in our flash files. Come and I'd probably get a couple of sheets. Or you can do this at home. You don't have to have this certain size paper. So if you don't want to make a special trip up to our flash files and get paper, you can use copy paper, printer paper, or any kind of paper that you might have at home. So if I just wanted to show you, if we're going to create a storytelling quilt, I want to show you. I think the previous video showed you step by step. We draw it, then we outline it, and then we color it. But let me sort of demonstrate how to do a frame real quick that I think is really easier. Drawing straight lines, you have to sort of. I am right-handed, so I'm drawing with my right hand, and I use my left hand to hold the ruler. So I'm going to sort of cheat a little bit, and I'm letting the ruler line up at the edge of the paper. So I line up that side, and since I don't draw it with my left hand, the left hand is going to hold it. So I make the letter L. I spread my forefinger and my thumb as far apart as I can, and I press down tight so the paper doesn't slip. And then I use my left hand, and I just put the pencil up against the ruler and the paper, and then I just draw a straight line. So that one's really easy. But when you go to do the one on the bottom, and since I'm right-handed, drawing this one, I'm having to do it very awkward. So let me show you my secret. So we see how easy that is. So all I'm going to do is turn the paper. So, and again, I line it up with the side of the paper. I draw, since I'm right-handed, I draw on the right side of the ruler, and then I turn it again. And I'm doing the exact same line. The secret is you just turn the paper, and you find what's easiest for you. I keep my fingers in the center so I don't bump them. And there I've made a frame. So all of the quilts, since this is actually just going to be one block, and if you draw several pictures, you can piece them together to make. I'm just telling one part of the story, but if you have several, you piece them together, then you can tell maybe the whole story or a larger part of the story. But since all of these pieces will be put together really closely, the frame and border I think is very important. And then you can decorate your frame and border any way that you want. You can draw a star or something in the corner. If I draw a corner to corner, I might do triangles. If I put a X in the center, I could then color the 4 parts different colors. This is just I'm just trying to break up and decorate the quilt. Now, an easy pattern to do is zigzag. So if I go diagonal up, diagonal down, diagonal up, diagonal down, and then I can color in the triangles, maybe two different colors. So I can do an A-B pattern. The triangles that point up can be one color, and the triangles that point down can be another color. You can also use your letters and initials. So if you have the letter A in your name, what if you repeat a capital letter A? That could be a pattern. So a pattern is when you repeat any line, shape, color, forms, texture, anytime that you're repeating something. So, if you have a V in your name, you have an A and a V. Just to show you some different tricks and techniques, if I wanted to make, say, the letter B, if I'm just doing the alphabet here. So this could be the straight line of the B. Then if I just do the two curves, and then straight line, then I repeat, because patterns is repeating. So I'm making an interesting pattern by repeating a letter. Straight line, repeat. Sort of like scales. If I had I was trying to think of some other interesting letters. If I wanted to do a H, capital letter H. And you just, it's funny because then all it does is make smaller rectangles. If we were here in class and you guys give me suggestions, we could just sort of practice and play around, maybe on a scrap sheet of paper, and just see what kind of frame or border you can create just by repeating letters. So I'm doing, again, just going down the alphabet. A, B, here's C. Let's see what the letter C looks like. Now I'm letting the letters sort of touch. That sort of helps create the optical illusion of the pattern. They don't look so much like letters anymore. The letter D. I got room, I can do the letter E. Now, if I was doing this, I would actually do this all the way across. I would, you could break it up into different letters, but I would do like I did the A, go all the way across. I was just trying to give examples of some of the things that you might try to or experiment with. Letter F. Because sometimes the things you don't think of makes the neatest pattern. So that's what I'm trying to get is I'm just trying to show you some different examples. I might put a spiral in this corner or this square. Just something to create interesting patterns. These. It looks like a large M. I'm trying to make a star. It's pretty common in quilts. I think I'm up to letter G. We already did H. See what I looks like. J. Oh, I should have done K. K would have been a neat one because it had little diamonds. I knew there was one I was trying to think of. I didn't think of it until too late. Let's see. I've got triangles. I've got a spiral. I could do maybe just a series of squares. Just making this up. Just trying to come up with fun and interesting patterns. And then on the inside of your quilt block, this is where you tell and draw your story. So to save time, I have some students' drawings that I want to share with you. This is one. They did H, J's, and A's and M's for to help decorate their frame and border. And then, after you draw it with a pencil, I would suggest outline it with a black crayon, an ink pen, or a black marker, and then use your crayons to color it in. But this is a great example of a blacksmith working in his shop, and he's got some tools and stuff hanging up on the top. He's got his anvils where they do the hammering, and I think this is going to be his fire pit or his furnace. Here is another one. I can sort of spread these out, can't I? Here's another one that I really like. I love the colors in these. They did a triangle and made arrows. Oh, that's the letter K. The letter K, if you do a straight line, and then the diagonals for K, but if you repeat the K's, they make these interesting triangles. And this is the letter Z. I think these are W's. And of course, they did the A's. But anyway, this is the Mayflower coming over and building their homes. And I have another Mayflower drawing. The only thing about this one is the student forgot to make a frame or a border. And so the neat thing about this is if you do more than one, if you do 4, which is makes a really good, nice piece, nice size piece. If we're doing this in a class, I would put the whole class together and would create a class quilt. But since everybody is doing this virtually and getting things turned in is impossible, what I would do is suggest creating your own at home. If you do 4, you can do more, or you can just focus on 1. Draw them. I'd outline them, and then I color in. This one, the student did not outline. They just pressed down really hard to make dark lines, and I think this is just as successful as these. The only thing is I wish they would have created a frame or border so that this picture does not blend in with this picture. The frames and the borders, the decorative borders, helps to separate the images from the stories not blending in together. So have fun with this and enjoy it, and I hope I see you guys soon.